Justin. I just want to thank you for taking the time to chat with us here at the Christian Beat all about your upcoming EP, Just Like Jesus.
Yeah.
First, congratulations on the EP. And I always like to ask, especially when there's title tracks, kind of which came first. Like, did you kind of write the track for the EP, or did the track kind of influence the EP?
I would say that the track influenced the EP for sure. Um, I really wasn't sure what I was going to call the EP. And then whenever I had a digital designer, we had to get like a single artwork created for it. And whenever my designer like worked on the artwork, I was like, wow, that looks like the cover of the EP right there. It's just, I think that she did a great job. And whenever I saw that, yeah, it just inspired the whole thing. I was like, okay, I know exactly, the track influenced, the artwork, and the artwork was like, it was just kind of a no-brainer for me.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So do you often get kind of the inspiration in the other areas of art, other than specifically lyrics or music, when you're working all of that together for yourself?
Man, really, I pull inspiration for projects really through a lot of stuff. I mean, there's even songs from the Made New record that I wrote, just from I haven't told my friends that the song is for them, but the song "A Father's Heart" is for some friends that were just going through a rough time, and I don't know, maybe one day I'll tell them. So like I pull inspiration from just, hearing of other people's stories, or if I'm reading a book. One of the songs from this EP actually came from, oh, it's actually on my desk. The book's called Not Safe, and it's by Mark Batterson. One of the songs from the EP kind of has this idea of that we all have a little bit of that spirit of Judas in us,
Hmm.
where we have this spirit of betrayal, spirit of being a traitor. Like, it's not like it's our intention to rob or pickpocket our Savior, but we rob him of his glory every time we don't show up and show out for the calling that he has on our lives. And so like that song, Judas and Me from the EP is like that came strictly. I mean, I was just reading a book and about to walk into a writer session, and I was like, what if we wrote a song about this? Like, I don't think anybody's written a song like this yet. And so yeah, I mean, inspiration. Sometimes it's, music where I'm just sitting down and I got a riff, sometimes just words on a page and really want to put some music to it. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm also curious, if the tracks that are all on the CP you've kind of written in this current season, or if you've pulled them from, like how long these particular tracks have kind of been in
Yeah.
your life.
All of them have been over the last 2 years. Um, I'm thinking of the track list. There's a song called Wake Me Up, and then there's You Were Always There. Judas and Me, Good Intentions. Yeah, all of them are like within the last 2 years. Good Intentions and Just Like Jesus, I wrote both of those maybe like a month after we spoke in 2023. So it's like the Made New album just released, and then I went on a indie artist retreat, wrote those two songs with two other writers, and so yeah, it's been pretty recent, the last 2 years. I would say that the track "You Were Always There" is probably my favorite from, it's not even like the title track. Like my favorite is "You Were Always There." And I think my favorites always are the songs that come out of my journal entries. From the Made New record, "There's No Love Like the Love of Jesus." That one was out of my journal, just super personable, and then the yeah. the "You Were Always There" was just like two lines that were written down in my journal. I think September 2023, and then we started producing it in May 24. And yeah, it's just been a lot of writing the last couple years, and which is fun, and I'm really excited about the stuff we're writing now that's gonna probably be coming out next year. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm curious then when you have those kind of favorite tracks that are super personal to you, once they're released and you start to hear, stories back from the listeners and them putting their own kind of life
Yeah.
on top of the track, how does that how does that change the track for you, like transform it, how you see it, or does it always kind of stay the personal piece for you?
It always stays the personal piece for me. I think it's really cool that so the one song off the Made New record, "A Father's Heart," that was like just it was one of the songs that I wrote for some friends of mine that I haven't told them yet. And just because I don't know, just because they're still going through it, right? Um, and I don't have to tell them. But "A Father's Heart" was like my favorite, not only like in the writing process, but in the recording process, the production process, and then even how it came out. Like I could go back to that song, listen to it, and not feel like I was listening to myself, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Um, and the crazy thing is that song from the album, it is the most streamed song out of all the songs on the album. I think the main new album, it's like now it's kind of crawled over that hill of like 500,000 streams, and then like it's creeping up on 1 million streams, and half of those streams is from that one song. And I'm just like, wow, it's not every day that, your favorite track as an artist is the audience's favorite track. I think that's super special. And then there's times whenever they tell me, they're like, man, this song's my favorite, and I was like, that's my least favorite. And it's still gonna be my least favorite, even though it's your favorite. But I mean, it's I don't know. I kind of think of the songs. I like my wife and I. We don't have any kids, but we have four-legged kids, if that counts. And then as a songwriter, I feel like all my songs are like my kids.
Uh-huh.
It's hard to pick favorites, but you do, and it is what it is.
No, for sure. It's funny. Sometimes I've asked that question and you don't often get a I actually have a favorite. So
Yeah.
it's cool that you do and you're able to say why.
Yeah, yeah. At least for this new project, that "You Were Always There," when that song, I just feel like it just wraps up my testimony in 3.5 minutes. The last time we were talking, we talked about my testimony a lot, and since the release of the Made New album, God had just opened up so many doors for me to share my testimony, and not only through song, but through media outlets and TV, radio, podcast features and appearances, or I'm not sure exactly the perfect or the correct term for that, but getting to be on podcasts and sharing my story. And sometimes I've been even asked to come to like men's conferences or retreats to share my testimony and to speak, not even have the guitar in my hands, which is super weird for me. But it's something I'm starting to get used to. And whenever I started writing "You Were Always There," I just felt like, okay, usually when I'm on stage telling my story, it takes me 45 to 60 minutes just to like dissect it all and lay it out there for the listener or for, whoever's in the room. Um, but it was like, you know what? This song is like my testimony in 3.5 minutes. So there's some people who are like, what's the quickest way to, listen to your stories? Like, here's a song right here. Listen to this.
Oh, that's awesome. I can imagine not having the guitar would certainly, speaking versus just being able to sing the song. You're trying to get the same point across, but it's probably a
Right.
different experience for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely been some uncharted waters, I would say. Just unfamiliar territory for me. Um, I remember there was this church that brought me out for this men's conference, and I thought that I was coming in to like do music, and so I had my guitar with me and everything, and I get in the green room, and I'm looking through like the pamphlet, and there's like, the conference is about to start. It's an all day thing. There's four speakers, and I'm looking at the little pamphlet, and I'm looking at like where I am on this list, and I'm like, I don't see myself anywhere because I wasn't looking under like the speakers. And they had me listed as like session two speaker Justin Gambino. And I'm thinking, guys, we gotta talk. I thought I was gonna do music. And and I just remember the Lord just ever so kindly saying, Justin, if you would have known that you're gonna be a speaker today, you would have prepared and prepared and over prepared, and you wouldn't have leaned on me and trusted me to tell you in the moment what to say. And I remember telling them, saying, I don't think I'm gonna fill that whole hour. I really don't think I am. But I talked for an hour and 5 minutes. And I just like, whenever I look down at the timer and it's like in red, it's like you've gone over your time. Oh wow. I guess I do have this in me. I guess I don't need to have the guitar in front of me to share my story. And so that was really special.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know kind of that you've been an independent artist for quite a first bit of your career for sure,
Yeah.
but this is going to also be your first label release. And
Yeah.
I'm just curious kind of how that has changed, like you being able to tell your story more in your speaking engagements, kind of like what all you're learning about yourself in this process as you're going.
Yeah. Well, I continue to learn about myself. I learned one thing about myself is yeah, I try to there's this conversation that always happens between me and the Lord right before I share my testimony. And I mean, having a distribution and publishing deal through a label now is like super cool, and it's a super great tool. Um, but there's still this side of me that's like, I have this conversation with the Lord every time I'm on stage. I'm like, Lord, do I have to share my testimony today? Do I have to be vulnerable today? Because today I don't feel like being vulnerable. And he always says, "Yeah, you got to do it." And thankfully, I haven't yet. I don't want to say yet, but I haven't like listened to the Lord and be like, "Ah, yeah, I'm gonna be disobedient today and not share my story," you know. But that's one thing that I've learned about myself is like I still am trying to find an easy way out. And I don't know if that's just the flesh, the rebellious flesh that's ingrained in us, I don't know. But it is a constant battle. Um, that like I don't know if I want to, I don't know if there's a part of me that wants to be past that season of sharing my story, but I can see time and time again how much it is changing other people's lives. And that alone is just like the encouragement that I need to keep sharing that story. Um, So yeah, I mean, it's only been since January since I've been working with the label,
Hmm.
um, but it's been really cool. Like, I mean, I try not to dive too much into like all the insights and all the back end of things and like watching how many listeners, monthly listeners, and all that stuff. I try not to focus on that too much because that can that can get to you if you hyper focus on that. But yeah, super thankful for um, Centricity, which is now they started a uh, distribution company called Resonance Music, And so that's what all this is going under, which I'm very thankful for their partnership.
Absolutely, absolutely. So then for yourself, if you're not keeping track of the streams and the listeners and the things, where do you kind of set your personal success marks for the music that you put out?
Um, well, I mean, really, yeah, that's a great question because I used to think my success would be in like, um, if I am winning awards, I used to think that way. Or if I can get to X amount of listeners or X amount of streams or X amount of subscribers. For me, like I would say the first 5 years of pursuing music, so like 2015 to 2020, it was almost like at the end of every show, I would go look to see how many people followed me from that show. I would look at the Instagram, I'd look at the Facebook, I'd look at all these things. I'm like, oh, awesome, 7 more likes. Like, let's get to the next, milestone of, in the social media, like, does this to your brain too. They're like, hey, you're doing really good. Post some more and maybe we'll give you a badge for reaching 20,000 followers or something like that. I think I got a notification from Facebook the other day and it said your content's really great. We're going to increase your distribution because you make great content. And I was like, okay, cool, like, thanks Facebook. um but I think of just last week I was in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and I shared some songs at a church and guest led worship. And this guy comes up to me and I shared my song, You Were Always There. And this guy comes up to me, and now I'm standing at my merch table, and this guy is literally the Holy Spirit, the Lord's just all over him and speaking to him through that song. And this guy is literally like tears are falling and like he's weeping on my merchandise. Like tears are on my merchandise. And he's apologizing at the same time. And I'm like, dude, this stuff is just material stuff. Like I care less about this stuff. Um, but just being there and just like not saying a word, just listening to him pour out his heart about how God reached him through that song. Like for me, that is success. And sometimes, we don't see that on this side of eternity. I believe whenever we get to heaven, we're gonna see like all the impact that we had. And even if we don't know it, then on the other side of heaven, like who cares? Like you know, we get to worship God right now, face to face with Him. Um, but I think we will get to see that on the other side of just how many lives were touched, um, and the good that we did, and how we served the Lord well. But I think another thing that pops to my mind is like success happens whenever we're obedient. Like, one thing that I've learned the hard way is that delayed obedience is still disobedience. Um, and I think if we can be obedient today, that's success for tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I know we're getting close to time, so I just want to give you kind of the opportunity to share like what your expectation, what your prayer, what your hope is as listeners get to hear just like Jesus, the EP as it comes out.
Yeah, I don't think I have any expectations.
Okay.
I try not to have expectations, but what my hope and my prayer um is that whenever people hear these songs, like I know this is kind of heavy, but like whenever I listen to these songs, when we were writing these songs and producing these songs, like there was conviction in it for me. Like even the song Just Like Jesus, like it's my hope and prayer that people hear these songs and they are convicted to the point of movement. They're like, oh man, I'm not the things that I say or the things that I do, the things how I treat people, like that's not the way Jesus would. And I hope that if people aren't in that season, or if they can't say that I'm in a place where I can love like Jesus, I just pray that they hear these songs and it just motivates them to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Um, to love like him, to show grace like him, to show mercy like him. I think that's going to be. I know that that is my hope and prayer for whenever people hear these songs. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, that's just, I mean, I feel like I've been obedient in making them and producing them and putting them out there. Um, and now, like, I'm in a tour season where I'm on the road and sharing these songs live, which is always fun. Um, but really, yeah, I just hope that these songs point people to Jesus, and then that encourages them to point others to him.
Awesome. Absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you again, Justin, for taking the time. It's been really great getting to chat with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always great to see you, and others see the other videos that you do whenever I always watch the other videos too whenever you're interviewing people. So to be the one on the video is it's really cool, really humbling, and I appreciate your time.